Don't want no drama, don't want no drama. I'm counting honest, blue face, big honest.
Yo, welcome to my first ever video game review. It's your boy Killer, and today I'm looking at Cyberpunk 2077 for the PC. Now unfortunately I didn't get to play it on any of the consoles, but the hardware that I'm running on my PC is pretty old. I'm running two 1080s. One's a FTW for the Win version, and one's just a regular GeForce. Both are from EVGA, and I'm running an i7 processor from Intel. Now, first off, I'm gonna start off with the graphic. I couldn't run the graphics on the max ultra settings because my PC is not gonna run that. But messing around with some of the settings, I was able to get it to run at 30 frames per second consistently. And outside of a few little hiccups here and there, like when I was streaming, I've only had it crash once. But my opinion of the graphics, just from me running it on the lower end settings that I was running it on, which wasn't really lower end, it was more like medium to high, the graphics were fantastic. Outside of, like I said, bugs where I would get poles with, or should I say, I would get light poles or traffic lights with no poles attached to them. A lot of times my car would have this rainy, glossy look to it, even though it wasn't raining. I don't know if that's just a regular bug or if that has something to do with my graphic settings. But outside of that, graphics to me personally looked fantastic. Were they the greatest graphics I've ever seen? No. But again, I'm not running it on super high settings. I don't have ray tracing on or any of that. Did have HDR on, and it looked really good. Sound. I had no issues with sound outside of a couple of times explosions would go off and I wouldn't hear anything. But that was about it. Sound to me was great. The voice acting was terrific. It really engrossed me into the story to where I really felt for the characters because the voice acting was so good and the dialogue was so good. The music choices, most of it wasn't my cup of tea, to tell you the truth. But I did like a lot of it. I guess that contradicts itself, huh? I liked it, but it's not music that I would actively go out and listen to. I liked it for the game purpose and that game setting. It was really good. Now, on to story. The story, to me, was pretty good. I liked a lot of the side quests and the side missions story-wise, where you will start off with, just going to one place and then, that mission wouldn't end until sometime down the road. Like, for example, and if you don't like spoilers, skip, but, alright, spoiler now. Found a gun named Skippy that auto-targets and talks to you. My son played the game too. He didn't find the gun because he just ran straight through the story mission, or story missions I should say, and he never found the gun. I found it, and after 50 or so kills, it switched to a different mode on me and wouldn't let me use it to kill anybody anymore. And then after that, it asked me to find its original, which was about a good few hours after I'd already started. After I'd already found the gun, I should say. As far as other missions, the story missions were pretty good. If you like action RPGs, it's an action RPG. Bad guys, this is not Call of Duty. Bad guys aren't going to go down in 1 or 2 hits, most of the time, unless you have overpowered weapons, which brings me to crafting. Crafting is something you want to do, trust me. In the crafting system, I was able to craft weapons that made the game, I was playing it on hard mode, and it made the game a lot easier than the little weapons that I was picking up off of enemies here and there. You can buy weapons, but it gets pricey. Just like you can buy vehicles and you can buy clothes, all of it gets pricey. So what you want to really invest in is crafting, so you can get some of the top tier items and the top tier weapons in the game. Next on the agenda would be story missions and side missions. Again, like I said, the story missions, side missions are your typical RPG, action, RPG fare. Go here, kill that, go here, collect this, bring that back. But what sets it apart is the story and the dialogue, which I found to be fantastic. Not gonna lie. Jackie, Pam, Rogue, Johnny, fantastic characters. Loved them. And I heard that a lot of people was giving Keanu Reeves crap for the way he sounded in the game, said that he, next to all the other voice actors in the game, that he didn't do a really good job. I've even heard that the developers kind of dogged him, said he was the worst voice actor in the game. And even if you think he's the worst voice actor in the game, he was still really good. He gave, to me, a really good performance. Was it amazing? No. But I also didn't go into the game thinking that he was going to give an amazing performance. Keanu Reeves is a really good actor, but he's not an amazing actor. He kind of sounds the same in almost every movie he's in, to tell you the truth. But in this game, he sounded like Keanu Reeves, but a lot of times I forgot that he was Keanu Reeves. And I wouldn't even call him, I stopped calling him Keanu and called him Johnny for the majority of the time that I spent with him. Now on to bugs. Again, I ran into not as many bugs as a lot of people were running into. I did run into a lot of the common bugs where the street people on the street would just disappear. I walk past somebody, turn around, and they're no longer there. Cars on the highway would just up and disappear. Or you would see cars driving in the distance. It looked like a packed freeway, but no cars was there when you got close. I don't know, again, if that was something to do with the settings in that I had the game set to, or if that was a bug, but that was kind of immersion breaking to see a whole highway stuffed full of cars and you get there and there's no cars there. I had bugs where the cars would stick out of the ground. And then another bug that really annoyed me was, as I'd be driving, I'd run into a line of cars not moving because there's one car up front and I don't know if the driver fell asleep or what, but it'd be a green light and they're not moving. They just sitting there, or it'd be no light at all and they just sitting there in the middle of the road. And I'd have to drive around this line of cars, and I'm one of those people, when I play a game, when I'm in a car, I try not to hit anything. I don't like messing my car up, and it would irk the mess out of me when I would have to almost mess my car up just to get past this one car that decided to stop in the middle of the road and not move. As far as other bugs, like the bug where cops would appear out of nowhere, that bug didn't really affect me. I never really seen that one, but I also didn't go around just shooting at people. Another bug I had was, as I was driving in a vehicle that I got from one of the games, I fell all the way through the ground and somehow ended up at the bottom of a lake the ocean. I don't know what it was, but I landed in some water, tried to swim up, and drowned before I could get to the surface. So, with all that in mind, the grading system that I'm working on is 0 to 10. 10 being the highest grade, perfect game. Well, not really a perfect game, but as close to perfection as you can get. 0 being just a god-awful dumpster fire. And the other way that I'm grading games is I don't grade games based on systems that I have not played them on. We grade them based on the system that I played them on. So if I played it on PC, I'm grading it based on my experience with it on PC. If I played it on PS4, Xbox One, that's how I'm going to grade it. So for me, personally, I give Cyberpunk 2077 8 out of 10. Could be a 7 with all of the bugs that I experienced, which weren't even game breaking. Oh, that reminds me, I had another bug during the ending mission of the game, which almost stopped me from progressing the mission until I decided to throw a grenade. But I guess one of the enemies that I was supposed to kill fell into the ground, and I just had the idea to throw a grenade over where the little dot was showing me that an enemy should be at, and it killed him. So that almost ruined my experience. Was I even started the mission over, because it happened to me twice. I started the mission over to see if that enemy would spawn in, and didn't. So then I threw the grenade, killed him. I was able to progress fine. But with all those bugs in mind, it could be a 7. But for me, since I had such an amazing experience, an amazing time with the game, I'm gonna bump it up to an 8 because of the story, because of the dialogue, because of the characters, because I actually enjoyed the gameplay with the gunfights and the sword fighting. I know a lot of people didn't like the melee system. I enjoyed the melee system. Was it the greatest? No, it wasn't. I've played plenty of games that had better melee systems, but it was serviceable for what it was. So again, I give it an 8. I wish that they had ironed out the bugs before releasing, and then I could probably bump this up to a 9. But again, for me, it's an 8. Could be a 7 for you if you don't like the bugs. My stepson who played it, he didn't like any of the music in the game. He had, a bunch of bugs or whatnot. He gives it an 8 as well. Again, the game is highly enjoyable. If you can look past some of the stupid little bugs in the game is highly enjoyable. It could have been a masterpiece had they ironed that out first. Now, that's the end of the review. I'm going to go into a little bit of a rant here, because everybody has been dogpiling Cyberpunk 2077 because of the bugs. And again, I'm not going to dogpile the game, because the way I look at it is, some of us as gamers, I'm not going to say we have to take some of the responsibility, because at the end of the day, it was on them to release this game without the bugs and being able to work on the consoles. But at the same time, I've seen people applauding the investors for putting out a lawsuit on Cyberpunk 2077, and my opinion on that is, some of those investors are one of the biggest causes for this game coming out as buggy as it did. They pushed Cyberpunk out because investors were dropping out. People were threatening, sending in death threats to the Cyberpunk staff, the developers, because they delayed the game by 3 weeks. So I can understand where they looked at it like, well, it's not finished. So, but, you know, people want it, so, you know, here you go. But at the same time, I can understand where people are like, well, you did say that, hey, it works on these systems just fine. But at the end of the day, those investors, in my opinion, are one of the biggest reasons why this game came out buggy. And furthermore, for all these people that is jumping on CD Projekt Red's neck for the state of this game, I didn't hear all of this vitriol and fire when Bethesda released Skyrim on the PS3, and that was a buggy, broken mess, especially on PS3. It was a buggy, broken mess on that 360 as well, and it was a buggy mess on PC. But everyone's, oh, that's part of Bethesda's charms, little bugs here and there. The PS3 version was so broken, they couldn't even release the DLC for it when they released the DLC for it on the other consoles, because it would break the game and break all the patches that they had put out for the PS3 version. But I didn't hear anyone, you know, review bombing Skyrim or anything like that when Bethesda did that. Then Fallout 4 comes out, same issues, not to the extent of Skyrim, but it was still a buggy mess when that game released. People still was like, oh, it's a really good game, just got to get past the bugs. Now, CD Projekt Red comes out and they release a buggy mess that's broken on consoles. From what I understand and from what I have, you know, heard and looked up, since I didn't play it on console, and everyone is like stomping them into the dirt. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I think that they said they're gonna fix it. I trust CD Projekt Red to fix it. They've already put out patch after patch fixing this bug and that bug, and they still gonna work on it for the foreseeable future. So, unlike, you know, Bethesda, pretty much a lot of the bugs that people told them about in Skyrim are still present in the game to this day. They never patched out. So that's my little rant and my 2 cents on that. Again, thank you for listening to that little rant and listening to the review. If you enjoyed this, I got another review coming. It's really, really late, but it's going to be The Last of Us Chapter 2. And I'm going to tell you why that game isn't as bad as a lot of people made it out to be. But again, this is your boy Killer. Check me out. I got my Twitter link in the description and my Twitch link in the description as well. Come check me out. I'm live streaming some Cyberpunk actually this weekend, and probably again next weekend. So come check me out. I should have that Last of Us up next week as well. Thank you. Deuce.
Don't want no drama, don't want no drama. I'm counting honest, blue face, big honest.